All right, guys, we're back here at my garage. We've got our 40 by 13.5 by 17 Trep sticky, and we've got some bead locks. I got a good deal on both of these. We are gonna mount them up. First, we gotta grab half-inch socket and take all those off so we can push that through the wheel, which I know is gonna be easier said than done. We've got a couple things here that we're gonna need. We've got a little mallet, we got some soap, we've got a torque wrench. Of course, we've got something to air it up with. All right, let's give it a shot. I got my little helper here. He's gonna take these bolts off for me. Well, make sure you go all the way down. There you go. All right, nice job. You are a pro beadlock ring remover. All right, so we got our beadlock ring removed. We've got our tire, so we got to decide how we want to mount it. Right, so these particular tires are directional, so we should have 2 of each to flip-flop on the side. I think that's correct, right? So we already have one mounted up. We decided that we're going to have the yellow Maxxis on the outside. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick the beadlock wheel through the back, face up into the back, so that that's going to be the front of our wheel. So obviously this is dirty and dry. What we're going to have to do is use some dish soap, something like a Palmolive here. We get something, they make stuff that's specifically for it, but what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that it's nice and slippery on the wheel. We're going to do both beads so that when the backside does slide in, it has somewhere to go. And then we're going to just lube the wheel up as well. So let me go ahead and do that. All right, guys, so what worked for me last time was actually not putting it on a bucket, but kind of just stuck it down like this. Again, I want that side to be my outside. That's on the ground currently. Ugh. I'm gonna take my rim. So I'm just gonna kind of shove it on in. Oh, we're good. No, we're not. All right, so kind of get it started. What worked for me, if you get close on this bead here, you'll see some of it's up there, but you're not going to get very far because the front of it's sitting there and we still have all this to go. What worked for me is going kind of tire machine on it and spinning it a little bit as you're doing it. So let me fight with this a little more and I'll get back to you once I get it on. Okay, so we got the tire mounted on the beadlock. That was not fun. Couple tips. You definitely want to have a lot of soapy water. And it helps if the tires are not freezing cold. These really should never be cold because they're stickies, but they're outside overnight for one night. But they're on. Like I said, guys, go liberal with the soapy water. And I did have to use a pry tool at one point because the lip got hung up. So let me flip this over and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so once you've wrangled in the wheel into the tire, now we can go ahead and add our beadlock ring. But before we do that, we want to make sure that the tire bead on the beadlock side is properly seated within the lip of the beadlock wheel. So this is the lip where the beadlock ring bolts down into. There's a secondary lip right underneath the tire lip. What we want to make sure of is that the tire bead is only sitting on that secondary ring. So if you want to go all the way around and want to make sure that this tire is properly seated down, all the way around, nice and even. Sometimes it takes a deadbolt hammer. You can pound that down, or you can take a screwdriver and you can kind of pry all the way around in order to get that lip down, but we really do want to get that nice and even all the way around. Once we have done that, we can go ahead and mount our beadlock ring. Let me show you how to do that. So here's our ring. You can line up right over the wheel, and we're going to take a few bolts, 4 of them to start with, and we'll hand thread them in to make sure that nothing's cross-threaded. We can take one at my 6 o'clock position, a 12 o'clock position, my 3 o'clock position, and the 9 o'clock position, and get those threaded down by hand. What I like to do is take this small Milwaukee. It's technically an impact, but if you can see here, I can actually hold the impact back, so it's not going to be that strong. I'll go ahead and I'll slowly tighten down the ring. You'll see the tire move down as the lock cinches down the bead against the wheel. Go ahead and do that in a cross pattern, nice and evenly. And then we'll go ahead and we'll take more, put them in between. The idea behind this is just to keep everything nice and even as we cinch everything down. It's going to help when we get our bolts in later so they don't become cross-threaded or crooked as the ring goes down unevenly. So we're going to make sure this is nice and even. Again, we'll put it in by hand. And we'll tighten these down in a cross pattern as well. And then we continue. All right, now that we have all of them in, they're relatively loose. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in a clockwise pattern. We'll start here at the 6 o'clock position, and I'm going to go all the way around. You'll see that as I go around, the ones in front of them become loose because everything behind it is tight. So as the tire compresses against the bead, everything's going to become loose. So it's going to take multiple rounds to get all the way around. All right, it's time to torque down to our final torque of 22 foot-pounds. So it's important to know that when you do torque these down, you want to go around, obviously, in a circle. That's the way I like to do it, at least. You might have to go multiple times. Usually what I found is I go around once, and then you maybe get a little bit of it out of there. But these are down pretty snug at this point. You'll notice I'm going to turn it a few turns. What's important when you're torquing it down is that you're not going too fast and you go past your torque, especially at 22 foot-pounds, which is relatively light. I'm going to use slow, even pressure until I hear the click or feel the click, and then I'll stop, okay? So let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'll go with this one here. So you can see even with that Milwaukee, it didn't go crazy on the tightening. So I'm going to go real slow. I'm feeling it get a little tighter. You want to catch that click mid-swing. There it is. And that's it. If you want to get tighter, there's the click. These rims are aluminum, so I'm being pretty cognizant of not trying to strip things out here. That's why I'm taking things nice and slow. It looked pretty aggressive to use that Milwaukee impact, but honestly, you can see I'm still spinning these around. It just saved a lot of time getting those bolts down in this wheel here. Once you start feeling it get tight, do some nice slow swings and you'll feel it. There it is. All right, let me go ahead and speed this up, finish it up for you. Okay, that is everything. So let's go ahead and flip this thing around and we'll put some air in and we'll watch this bead pop. That's the most satisfying part of this, I think. All right, so as you can see, our rear bead is not seated. Let's go ahead and fill it up. I'm not going to put much in it, just enough to get it seated, and then we'll air it up to about 10 psi, which is probably about where we're going to run it. Got my air gauge here. Let's plug it in. Almost there. There it is. As you can see now, the back bead is completely seated. And we've got one completed wheel. All right, guys, we wrapped up the install here on our 40-inch new-to-me Trep stickies on our Method Beadlock rims. Overall, the installation wasn't all that bad. It was a little bit tricky getting these rims in these cold tires, but I think on a warmer day it would have been a little bit easier. Definitely got easier as we went along, but once you get the first one down, it definitely goes more quickly with each passing one that you do. One thing to remember when you're doing these are directional tires. So you can't just throw the wheel in any way you want. You got to think about it a little bit. So all these have a rotation pattern listed on them right here. So this tire is going forward. This tire is going forward, rolling in this direction. The tires in the back here, I don't know if you can see them, let me bring you over. The tires in the back here, they're rolling forward and forward, but you'll notice that they're going the other way. So I have these set up here just as if they would be on a Jeep, so that we have the direction that we want. Obviously, you can kind of see how they're slanted this way to go forward. But that's it for this one, guys. Thanks a lot. If you liked the video, like and subscribe. We're going to have more content like this coming forward. We got lots of projects. Again, we got this TJ, the CJ, got the 392, we got the buggy being built, and we have another Jeep coming on the way. So definitely lots of content for you guys to watch. We're going to do a little bit of everything to each one of those rigs. Just one thing to point out in comparison before I go, these are 33 stock Rubicon rims and tires. It's quite the difference there. I can't wait to see these on the new crawler. All right, thanks a lot, guys.